And we are live. And welcome to the Icecast Live. And with me is my good friend, Mr. Ollie McManee. How you doing, Ollie?
Good evening. Doing very well, thank you. Near the end of the week, so weekend to come.
Looking forward to the weekend. Now that we can go out and meet one person outdoors.
In a park. Just
rock and roll
with you.
Yes. Oh, that's so classy. cans of Stella in a park. Like, pure class, that is. So tonight we've got a really interesting guest, Mr. Tom Ward, co-creator of the Sensational Elephantman, which is a title that caught my eye actually quite a while ago now, actually, probably about 5 years ago. I saw it. I think Tom was at a table at Thought Bubble, and I saw the comics, and I just thought they look really pretty. Yeah, they're really nice design. So I went over and we had a short chat. I don't know if Tom remembers that. He might not. Lots of people were wanting to talk to him that day. Yeah, I was just really impressed with the book as a whole. And what we're talking about primarily tonight is the new book, isn't it, Ollie?
Well, it's a Kickstarter, isn't it, for a collection of issues 6 to 8, I believe. And if I'm incorrect, Tom will be able to correct us shortly.
I'm sure he will. So with no further ado, play the very short video intro, please, Sam. Hey Tom, welcome to the Icecast. How you doing?
Hi guys. Good. Yeah, not bad.
Good man.
How are you guys doing?
Yeah, we can't complain, can we, Ollie?
I can't complain. I'm already intrigued by what's all those boxes for in the background.
Self-publishing. That's only half of it. Like,
whoa!
Yeah, it's what happens when you're your own kind of publisher, printer.
Wow, that's amazing.
You've got
are those the new collections already printed up, Tom?
No, we're waiting for the obviously the funding to obviously be able to print them, because it's quite a big chunk of cash. So yeah, we can't really like front that because we don't have it basically. So the Kickstarter is essentially to do the print run to get the books, to get them straight out. Yeah, it's issues 5, 6, and then we've got a special crossover issue in the middle, and then 7 and 8. So it's like a 5-issue book. Obviously, it's all kind of completed. The art's completed. The letters.
Yeah.
Single issue. So it is just a case of, kind of like the mainstream books do. It is like the single issues go out and happen, and then we're on to like the paperback collection, because we do our single issues are numbered out of 500 limited edition. So we kind of, the idea is to sell them out and then kind of phase into like the paperback, which we keep in print.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a good plan. That is something for the hardcore fans, or the sort of people who got there on the ground floor because they've got a copy of the originals. But equally, if they want this collection, maybe they haven't got the crossover or missing an issue, they can get it through the Kickstarter.
Absolutely. So there's the slight difference in the kind of print quality as well, because it is, the idea is to be an incentive for the people who are there first, who are getting the single issues. So the single issues are numbered out of 500, and they're on like a really thick, heavy stock textured paper, which is really nice. And then for the paperback, it's the idea is kind of like a more accessible, kind of more affordable thing. Even though we try and keep everything as affordable as possible, but we want to keep up with that kind of Image nice price, when like the Image first volume's like £8.
Yeah,
our first paperback's like £10. The second volume on Kickstarter is a little bit more. It's like 14 plus postage, so I think it's like £16 to your door if you're in the UK, a little bit more international. But yeah, I really want to kind of, accessibility is really important to me, so I want to keep it so as many people can get involved as possible, rather than when you see some people and it's like they're trying to fund single issues for like £20 plus postage or something. It's the complete opposite of what I want to do.
it's not good value, is it? You know, £10 or £20 for a 22-page comic. But I think it's really nice if you can offer something substantial like this. I mean, I think that's like the bargain, really, for it. I mean, and you've got some nice little extras in your Kickstarter, which I should say as well is the Kickstarter is fully funded, isn't it?
It's I think it was fully funded within 24 hours. It's definitely been our best one to date.
Right.
You can see someone's asking what it's called. It's Merrick the Sensational Elephantman Volume 2 trade paperback on Kickstarter. It's 276% funded, which is amazing. So, yeah, hopefully we will get that. We're working on putting the print files together now, compiling everything, and Luke's just working on a few bits. We put in some nice like chapter breaks, and there's a little bit of a pin-up gallery from some amazing artists. We've got.
I saw actually on the Kickstarter itself. There was some previews of that. Some really cool pin-ups by some really cool artists.
Yeah, excuse me if I get the names wrong, but it's Vlad and Vlad Lego Stave, who's done some pin-ups for in our Treves book before, which he's an awesome artist. And we've got Andrew Han as well, who's really good. We've got the links to their Instagrams and social media. And, you know, if you like their art, they do commissions and they've got their own projects and stuff on the go as well. Cool.
Actually, what I think I can do, I can probably show people some of these images if I share the screen. Let's see if I can do that.
Well, whilst you're trying to share the screen, Tom, and I think you're underselling a bit, but because for 14 quid, you're getting those 5 issues, but each issue is about 30 odd pages. So it's a lot bigger than your average monthly. And of course, they tend to bring 5 issues together in their trades for a similar price, if not dearer. So I think for 14 quid plus postage, you are getting a good deal. And what I like about the issue, even starting at issue 5, it's a jump on point straight away. Your story arcs, particularly in this second volume, are very short. You've got the 2-parter, I think, you know, the deal with the devil story, and then you've got a couple of one-offs done in ones. But equally, you've got that lovely story arc running all the way through.
Yeah, it's always been something that's been quite important to me because I really think that one of the fun things about comics, and especially like long-running series, which is one of the huge parts of our comics that I'm a fan of, is like the kind of serialization and the long-running kind of idea of it. But chronologically, like in most things, you start at the beginning and you work forward, and you talk with your friends and you think about, you know, what's going to come up next. But I really like the idea in comics, and I think all of us have done it where you just kind of randomly, like, no one starts at the beginning like X-Men 1 or something, do they? It's like you get stuck in, and then you not only kind of imagine what's to come, but you kind of have to fill in the blanks backwards yourself. So I always kind of, I'm always in mind of making sure each of our story arcs for the Kickstarter funding full story arcs is a jumping on point. And there is like, I do like those classic kind of Stan Lee recaps. You know, they used to do that like 10 issues or something. It'll be like, you know, a quick little recap, get back in, and then everyone can kind of be involved.
Well, I was going to say, you know, the origin of your Elephant Man is a little cheeky homage to the likes of Spider-Man and Stan Lee, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's totally kind of like
it's done straight face. Though
superhero thing is totally kind of where we were coming from it, because although it's like a Victorian pulp adventure, like really, like the whole idea came back to like basically the classic superheroes of like animal and then man. So, you know, Spider-Man, Hawkman, Ant-Man, like the list really does go on. And then obviously I was just kind of kicking ideas around in my headboard in work, and you think Elephant Man, that seems like an obvious one, because, like, you know, elephants are really tough. As an elephant never forgets, would this character have like a, you know, photographic memory or something?
That'd be brilliant.
But it just lines right up with all those tropes. And then once, obviously, I realized that he was a real person, and then you realize that, like, he's got the name already in real life. He wore like a stack mask over his head. It's basically kind of a superhero already there in real life before you start embellishing it, really.
So did you find, did the name pop up first and then the connection with John Merrick, or was that already formed as the name popped up into your head?
It was very, very quick on top of it. Like I was just thinking, I was just in work, bored, thinking about superheroes, basically.
As you do.
As we all do, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I had this idea that, like, I kind of thought, I like comics. I'd really like to have a go at this and get involved. And I had a couple of ideas in my head, and they were a bit more maybe ambitious and a bit weirder. And I think the great thing about this comic is it does have like a hook. Like when you say to someone, people have got kind of an idea what it is, and people are like, oh, this is a good idea. Why hasn't it been thought of before? So I was kind of just thinking of those names, and then I got this, and then I thought, oh, he's a real person. And then I was just curious. So I'm in work, so I started, got on Wikipedia, got on the internet, did a little bit of research, and the whole thing was just really fascinating, and just the whole world and story all kind of just came at once and just really built itself. Because even all the connections, like the stuff in the issues where like Frederick Treves is like the real life doctor who did deal with him, and he was best friends with Thomas Hardy, who was the writer and poet, and he was like, he would bang into the supernatural and ghosts and that kind of thing. And then the doctor was also in the same gentleman's club as Arthur Conan Doyle, who's like one Sherlock Holmes is just the best, isn't it? And then he's just obsessed with seances and fairies and just all the kind of stuff I really like in fiction, basically. So like once you got there, the possibilities are endless, really.
Well, Treves is a very fascinating character, isn't he? Throughout the books, and obviously it's continuing to build even after issue 8, even though it is a done-in-one story. As it goes back to that long-form story arc where you're dropping little hints and pieces and revealing more of the story as it goes on. I mean, how far have you planned ahead? Like Neil Gaiman might have had, right, it is 75 issues and a few one-shots. Have you got a master plan, or are you just having great fun in the Victorian sandbox?
So from the beginning, basically, the overarch, I had that like complete. And I've always known kind of how it started, and I've always known how it's going to end, basically, and a series of kind of signpost moments in between. Now, kind of the fun thing with comics, obviously, is the more we do, and the more ideas we play around with, the more ideas we kind of have. So the stuff we're doing now, like the last story arc was never, ever a consideration in the kind of grand scheme of things. But just up to that point, I was like, well, this would be really fun to do this, so we'll do this. So there's still lots of little points I've got to get to. But yeah, it was a really kind of ambitious undertaking from the start. I know people are like, you want to get into comics, write a short, like do an anthology piece, do a one shot, whatever you do, don't do your magnum opus, like 100 issue series.
Usually good advice, isn't it, for most creators, I'd say, but there are always exceptions to the rule.
Well, yeah, like I just went straight into that because like,
it certainly feels like a magnum opus in the making, I must admit.
I think, like, fingers crossed, if we get to the end, like I'm thinking maybe 40, 50 issues, easy, and that's without even coming up with more ideas as we go.
Of course.
Which is always an option, and I think the good thing about comics is you can stretch stuff out or compress stuff. So we're going to play with that, but I think it kind of, the advice is a lot easier to do a one shot, or it is a lot easier to start off doing some shorts, but especially if you want to do it yourself and publish it yourself and carry it all yourself, you really miss out on the the kind of momentum that you build up, because I'm not doing a one shot and then I've got a second one shot and it's a completely different thing and it's a completely new sell to, maybe it might not even appeal to the same people that the first one did if it's a different genre or a completely different story. But every time we do a new Merrick issue, like obviously a lot, because we're not that deep into it, 10 issues, 11 issues, people can still jump in at the start, get the first volume and read it through. So we do, like, every time we do something, we're picking up new people who kind of just joining on and kind of keeping going with us. So it's been really good in that respect.
And it is so accessible as well, because I mean, obviously the first thing I read was the first issue, as is always a good idea, and the story just knocked along at a real pace, and it was really easy to follow. I mean, Luke's art and his storytelling, it's just really, really nice. It's so well done. I mean, you don't have to even have the words; you can just follow the story, you know, from just the panels. It's that the storytelling's that good. How did Luke get involved with the project? Did you come up with the idea together, or did you bring Luke in afterwards?
Yeah, I had this idea. I wanted to do a comic, and it was kind of based out of. I was in bands, and you know, kind of that fell apart, and just working with other people was just. It's hard to find people to do a group thing and be all, you know, heading in the same direction and kind of really working towards the same thing. So I was like, I'm just going to take some time out and see what else I'm interested in, and you know, I really like comics. Wanted to have a go at that, so I basically sat down and tried to do everything I could by myself. So I went on the Dark Horse Comics site and looked at their writers' submissions more for an idea of how to do it than just anything to them. And they had a really great sheet about kind of, you know, like a crib sheet on how to format comic script pages. So that's became kind of like my guide, and a few bits and pieces from like Alan Moore about how many words should be on a page and how many words in a speech balloon, that kind of thing. And I basically put together like a text pitch pack. Like I worked on the synopsis for the over arc. I worked on a synopsis for the first story arc. I wrote the first 4 scripts. And then I was like, I've took this as far as I can go, really. And I think it's pretty good. But obviously the next step is we need to find an artist. So this was like 2012, 2013. So internet forums were kind of still a thing back then. So straight on there, dealing with the public on the internet.
That's always fun.
Eventually, I came across one guy, great artist. He was interested. We were going to go, and then he got picked up for video game concept design, which is obviously really good for artists. So like, okay, cool. Got my deposit back. Like, could have been a nightmare. It was really smooth. It was fine, but it did kind of. I thought we were getting going, and it was a bit of a bump in the road. Yeah. So I kind of went on the back burner for a little bit, but I kept you know, my eye on the forums, kept up with what was going on. And I actually saw Luke apply, you know, he just put his portfolio out there for a different project. And I was just kind of just browsing through, and I saw his one. I was like, this would be like, it'd be perfect for this. It'd be ideal. So sent him a message, sent him kind of the pitch idea, sent him the synopsis. And off. He was interested, and kind of off we went. We did the first issue, gave that away for free when we launched our first Kickstarter. You can still download that on www.merrickcomic.co.uk.
Can indeed.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to check that out, feel free to. And then we did the first Kickstarter for 4 issues, which was probably a little bit ambitious, but we did it, scraped the skin of our teeth. And it's just been kind of just steadily moving on from there, really.
That's great. I mean, that was quite ambitious, like you say, doing a Kickstarter for the first 4 issues, was it? I mean, that's, you know, not many creators would go for it full bore like that.
Yeah. In hindsight, it probably would have been easier to, I don't know, since we already had the first one finished, just say, oh, we just want to print this one. But I guess I figured if we were giving it away digitally for free, maybe people wouldn't be interested in buying a physical copy. But I like now I know what I know now. I don't think that would have been a problem, because, you know, there's always people want the physical things. Yeah. But I also think it kind of held us in good stead, because I think one of the worries is with crowdfunding is people are going to get involved in a story and then never see what happens. And I think that does kind of make people pause for thought before they do stuff, especially back then. I don't think there was many people like in the UK doing Kickstarters in 2014.
No,
I think it only just open to the UK, because I remember I saw Americans doing it initially, and that's what made me think this stuff looks great. And like, I don't know how to talk to publishers, I don't have any connections, like don't have a background in anything like this, but these people have literally just put up some pages of art, and I backed a few digital ones, and I was like, this is great, this is as good as anything else. And if that's all you've got to do, like, I can do that. Anyone can do that. Basically.
The hard part is the marketing, isn't it, really? I mean, you can produce the work, you can, you produce a nice Kickstarter, but you still got to get that sort of audience to get on board. And you've seemed to be quite adept at that. You've done a really good job of building your audience over time with, obviously it gets...
Well, that successful Kickstarter shows it, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's great that you've got clearly a good fan base who've backed it. They've probably told someone else, and it's great that it's been so successful already.
Yeah, we're not like kind of one of the big flashy Kickstarters. Like you see people now. I mean, Joe Glass's last one was incredible. Like, what, over 900, 37,000 pounds or something. Like, those numbers are like, that's insane. Like, well done, Joe. But like, we do have definitely kind of a steady, kind of engaged fan base who they do message, and they're like, when's the next issue coming out, or really like this, and people, they'll do fan art, and
that's cool.
Matt Simmons did the X-Men Grand Design books, like he did a Merrick Grand Design zine
that's cool.
Like recaps the first trade paperback in like cool. 8 fold over zine pages, and that's amazing. And I just love to see people get involved with that kind of thing. And it's nice that, like, even when we were at cons, people will come up to us and be like, I've got all your books, like, I back all the Kickstarters, but I just wanted to come and tell you, like, just really enjoyed it. Like, that's great that people go out the way to do.
Oh, yeah.
Not just something that you've read and gone, meh. It's like, it's something that people are collecting them. People are...
Oh, we've got a freeze, or is it me frozen?
No, it's not.
It's Tom.
It's Tom.
He's frozen in a very opportune.
Maybe it's a Chrome thing again. As long as he doesn't panic, we'll be all right.
I'll just revisit the comments while he's getting back online. We've got a hello from John.
There he is. That was a good, quick comeback there.
Quick comeback, and hello to Christopher. Hi, Christopher. Chris runs a Walking Dead Comic Collectors UK group on Facebook.
Did we drop out then?
Yeah, you just dropped out.
Only briefly.
But yeah, we just caught up with a couple of the comments while you were out. You were in a great pose. You were like, like in Paul McCartney look, you know what I mean? So was it always going to be set in the 1880s, that sort of period? Was that always going to be the thing that you were going to go with?
Well, yeah, it's the Elephant Man, isn't it?
Well,
it could be the 1940s.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, when you were looking to do a comic, was it always going to be a period piece, or was it just because you come up with the Elephant Man and then it was led by that?
It was because the idea, like you say, obviously it's constrained by history, because like the idea is it's a secret history thing. So we try to keep the kind of, the people are real, the dates are real, the places are real, and we're kind of just working in between that. Like the ideas I had before that, like I think there was one I wanted to do about like kids in World War II. I had a couple of like kind of modern, like superhero kind of modern day things. But yeah, this was just like such a solid, fully formed idea, just thinking about it. And in a way, kind of, although you're constrained by the dates and the people and the real events, it's almost like a framework that you can work off as well. It was kind of like working on a Marvel or a DC property that's already established, and then you're working with those rules. So it's kind of a fun challenge to be working within something and not quite as overbearing as just anything could happen at any point, which could leave you unstuck, really. Yeah,
you can have too much choice creatively sometimes, can't you? Those constraints can actually be a really good way of coming up with good ideas. They can actually inspire you. The one thing I was really intrigued by was the story idea of the sort of what if story that you come up with in the new book, which is like sort of like the deal. It was like a deal with the devil story, and it's like, what if Elephant Man had been like normal? And What was the inspiration behind that story? Where did that come from?
So the pyramid is in Liverpool, and that story is apparently like a real thing. The guy with the deck of cards in the pyramid, and that's like a local urban legend or whatever.
So this isn't a KLF thing then?
KLF thing?
Because they did a big happening in Liverpool a few years back, didn't they? And of course they used pyramids a lot in their symbolism. I was just wondering if they've left there, but obviously it's a lot older than that.
It's in the grounds of it's university halls now, because everything is university housing. But it's just I'm trying to think where it's off Hardman Street, just to the side. There's this little
right.
It's quite cool. I don't know if a lot of people know it's there, but it is.
No,
and then the kind of altered reality issues. That's really a callback to the kind of the Bronze Age superhero thing again. It's just classic Fantastic Four. Ben Grimm gets to not be the thing anymore, and then by the end of the issue, he's got to decide whether he wants to stay a man or he's got to go back to being the thing to save his friends. That was a really fun one, because I really like that we changed the title and everything on that issue, so it's kind of a separate continuity in our continuity, which is again it's the kind of thing I really like about comics, like playing with that kind of thing.
I mean, when sorry, go on, Ollie. You ask.
I was going to say, you revisit a very familiar sort of comic trope narrative in the 8th issue, where Elephant Man gets his own man back, doesn't he? I love playing with those tropes. So it's
brilliant.
We've got the Elephant Man, so we have to have the man elephant. When we get to that point, that is again. Where we start playing with continuity again, because there's a big twist in that issue where the stuff that you've been led to believe running up to it has not actually been true. So that is really cool that we get to that point and do that kind of thing, because that is the stuff I really love about comics. Like when continuity, when people have, it's been passed from team to team, and then someone realizes, shit, I've been trapped in a corner here, and he's doing something outrageous to get out of it. Like we can kind of do that in our own way. That's one of my favorites. That issue and that whole thing is just it's just super fun to play with.
That's cool.
It's really great graphics, especially when you do monsters. Now, I think we've done quite well. We're nearly at half an hour. We've not mentioned Mike Mignola yet. So I'm going to bring it up in a framed question like this, Tom. Do you find certain fans are drawn to the artwork, expecting it to be Hellboy light, but stay for the stories? Because it is a very different beast to Hellboy. It has certain similarities, of course, but it is very different. It's set in more real time. I mean, I love the fact, like you say, you're using real people. You might play about a little bit with them, but you're using real people. And I was drawn very much to the story. I mean, that's what kept me hooked. And, and each story, I love, again, it's a Marvel thing where you do a story in about 1 or 2 issues rather than 5 or 6 issues.
Yeah.
Getting back to the original question, do you find fans come for the artwork but stay for the story?
Initially, people got so mad at us.
Really?
Some people were fuming.
Well, before they'd read it, though, or just because...
Before they read it,
yeah.
I think a lot of people didn't give it a chance. Because of that, but there are definitely people who read it, thought it would be like knockoff Hellboy, and then were like, actually, like you say, it's quite a different comic. Because I haven't even read any Hellboy before.
Oh, really?
Right.
No, obviously Luke's a huge fan.
Yeah.
Kind of.
How can you tell?
Never guessed.
The comic that we both really kind of like a crossover point for us is actually a Mike Mignola art issue of Batman, Legends of the Dark Knight.
Oh yeah.
It's a one-off issue called Sanctum. I can't remember what issue number it is, But that is like a like Batman solving like a Lovecraftian crime.
Yeah, I remember that one. Sam, see if you can find the cover so we can see it, so our viewers can see it.
We actually did like a homage to it. If anyone was paying attention, on Steve's Arrest Night. If you get the other cover up, it's going to be very similar to that. So that was kind of our crossover point. Yeah, I hadn't read any Hellboy. I've seen the films. I have read some since. I really like it. But yeah, I think like in Hellboy's world, Hellboy's kind of, he's a monster. He fights monsters, but like there's not really kind of like a human aspect to it. Like no one's kind of like, he has no negative to him from being Hellboy, if that makes sense.
He's celebrated, isn't it? He's very happy with who he is as Hellboy, I think, for the most part, anyway.
Yeah, he's not got like the kind of peasants with the pitchforks and the torches coming for him. He works for the government. Like, he has a good time. Like, they go and fight these monsters, and I think ours is a lot more of a kind of character-driven, like, and a lot sadder, more of a downer than
yeah.
You're selling it, Tom. You're selling it.
Downer's gonna be fun.
Yeah, no,
well, listen, you can't do a story set in the 1880s without being gothic. So, I like the fact that it's a very rich era, both from a literary point of view and from a historical point of view, that you've been able to tap into. That vein goes very deep, and you've only just touched on it. You've got Spring-Heeled Jack in it, but you've not got the other Jack yet from that time. And I dare say, and that's an obvious one.
It is.
But there's so much more you can tap into as well. Look at that.
That is awesome. That was a great issue. I do have it in my collection, actually.
Yeah,
I'm also a big Mignola fan. Since I think Alpha Flight, he did a run on Alpha Flight way back.
Yeah,
and
they swapped, didn't they? On issue 24, John Byrne swapped to the Hulk, and he swapped to Alpha Flight.
That's right. Although I did get the Hulk issues, but I didn't quite click that it was Mike Mignola at that point.
He hadn't been fully developed at that point. It was only after he did Dracula that, I think he says it himself. It's when he did Dracula for Topps Cards. I think that's when he developed into the artist that then we know and love to this day.
I don't want to put words in Luke's mouth, but I'm pretty sure the Dracula series is his favourite comic of all time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can imagine.
He's a big fan of that.
Yeah, it's great.
It was great. I loved it. Yeah, I remember when it came out. I bought 2 copies of each one because they were sealed. They were sealed, weren't they?
Because they had a card with them, didn't they?
Yeah.
Topps Card Comics or something like that.
That's it. And I bought each one twice so I could read one and put one away. Of course, that's just silly, isn't it? I think I've sold them since, the extras. It's like, I just want to read them, man. I think I brought the trade as well. I mean, the Mignola stuff, actually, the trades are beautiful, aren't they? The not just the paperbacks, but the hardback collections are absolutely.
Yeah, they do those lovely library editions.
Yeah.
Like, that is definitely something like we want to do in the future, kind of.
That's what I was going to ask.
It stands up. Some comic book art doesn't necessarily stand up to being expanded, whereas Mignola's and certainly Luke's really does. So I can see how that would work.
I think what my idea and concept for it would be is where it's the single issues have got the really nice heavy stock paper, and then the trade paperbacks are kind of like the accessible, kind of as cheap as we can. Not like made
still
cheap,
glossy,
like it's still quality, but like it's cheaper. For hardbacks, I'd like to go oversized, get really nice textured paper in there again. Do like maybe nice, like either cloth bound or nice dust jacket, like make a really like nice high end item again. So you've got like the single issues, and then the paperbacks that are the most accessible, and then like a really high end kind of thing.
You do have readers, don't you, that only buy like omnibuses and hardbacks, and there's a whole section of fandom now that only buy
different format for everyone, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, they are lovely. I don't buy that many of them because
hard to read in bed.
Hard to read in bed, and they're expensive.
That's why
with bookshelves already.
The 50 issue omnibus paperbacks, they're the hardest ones to read in bed.
They're crazy.
The invincible ones, they're like that.
Yeah.
if you fall asleep with them on you, you're in danger of not waking up in the morning because you've been crushed. But they are awesome though. I do like them, and it's always been a dream of mine to publish something like that. Something big and something with a hard back. But one day,
something that could potentially kill you whilst you're asleep.
Yes, yeah. But what a way to go, eh?
Yeah, it's the way you would want it to go. Die under a pile of comics.
Yeah. It's probably the fate that awaits each of us, I would say. So just to go over the Kickstarter, because that's what we're talking about primarily. You do have some nice little extras, like we've seen some bonus artwork. But what other extras are there for fans who want to support you on the Kickstarter, Tom?
For our Kickstarters now, we do try to keep it as kind of streamlined as possible. Like we've done like the prints thing and the t-shirts thing in the past, and it kind of just spirals a bit out of control. Kind of our primary goal is just make a really good book. So we kind of try to keep it focused on books. So primarily this is for the volume 2 paperback edition, but we do have basically our entire kind of back catalogue available there. So there is the option just to get the first volume for people who just want to kind of dip their toe in. There's book 1 and book 2. There's the Treves Restless Night spin-off that we were talking about before. That's kind of a self-contained, call it a graphic novella, which is like pretty pretentious because it's got a little spine on it.
And why not? Why not?
Yeah, we got the single issues. So like, I mean, if you look at that, that's our single issue collection now. That is quite a body of work. So if you pledge for that, you do get quite a big pack of comics comes through the door.
And that's reasonable as well. I mean, you're not asking a lot, are you, for those? So it's it's good value, I think, for what you can get.
Well, the idea is we just want to get as many people reading it as possible and get as many, like you've seen the boxes behind me.
Yeah.
I'm going to get another pallet of books like in the next month or so. Like I need to make some space. But we do have the digital stuff as well. Like again, just the first volume digitally, or just the new one digitally, or you can get basically all 11 issues, the crossover issue, the spin-off, and that's 392 400 pages of comics.
Wow.
And like digitally, I think that is like £15, is it?
Oh, that's
£15. Yeah. I like to try and keep the digital stuff as like £1 an issue, because I just want people to read it basically. We spend a lot of time and a lot of effort making it. It seems a shame to price yourself out of people enjoying it and checking it out.
And do you think it will always be an independently published book? I mean, if a publisher came along and said, "Tom, Luke, we want to publish this because we think it's awesome. We'll buy the rights to publish it from you," would that be something you'd go for, or would you want to keep it yours?
I mean, there's been a couple that have put that to us, and nothing's kind of lined up as is. I would like to keep the single issues limited and numbered, because I think that's a better way to do it. Like you're going through the direct market, the amount you're getting off the cover price of a single issue, it almost doesn't seem worth cutting the trees down, to be honest.
That's a good way of putting it.
I like that expression. Yeah, I'm going to steal that on occasion.
Yeah, the paper. I'd love to get the paperback in more shops, but kind of doing it ourselves. Certainly, we're at a level where I can absolutely keep up, and we can like. Yeah, it sounds shitty to just be worried about the numbers, but like ultimately to keep it going, we do have one eye on them. So if we're getting 100% of the cover price, it certainly beats 30% going through a publisher and a distribution company. And the numbers that we kind of sell, it's absolutely fine. Like we could upscale quite a lot, and I could still probably deal with it myself. And the more we kind of bring in that way, the more, you know, we're kind of working on this comic around everything else at the minute, like myself and Luke and Mika. But if we sold enough issues where we could, you know, spend more time on it, like we could put out more regular releases. Like I'd love to get to like a standard quarterly release, and then maybe, you know, I think that would be a really good goal to, you know, 4 issues a year every time. But it is difficult when you're doing it all by yourself. But you know, if someone came across with the right deal and it looked like it was working out, like I'd certainly be open to it. I really like Michael Fife's way of doing things for Copra. So he was doing all the single issues himself, and then he started putting out through Image, and now he just puts the paperbacks out through Image, and he's gone back to just distributing single issues himself. He's got up to 40 issues. His 40th issue is about to come out, and he, you know, writes, does the art, does the color, he does everything himself, and he's putting out monthly. Like that's really something else. Like that's something to aim for, definitely.
Yeah, I mean that is full time, isn't it? If you're doing that,
yeah.
You do have to have the numbers behind you to make that possible, for sure.
Well, you'll know this, obviously, Tom, having been in bands yourself, you've got to be full-time committed, haven't you, really? So I suppose it must be frustrating for you, knowing you've got this possibly 50-issue story, and what's stopping you from getting it out is obviously other things in life getting in the way, I suppose, whereas maybe in the future you would have that opportunity to speed things up.
I'd certainly feel that way if I had all 50 issue scripts written, but as it is, like, I'm always like, right, because I write all the story arcs. I don't do one issue and then Luke draws it.
Right.
I write the whole story arc and then send it off. And I'm always like, well, Luke's got 2 issues. He's got 3 issues to draw here. I've got loads of time. I'm going to get ahead of the curve. I'm going to plan this all out. I'm going to write another 10 issues. Have the scripts ready. We can just work through them as and when. Take the pressure off. I never do it. I'm always waiting to, like, Luke's on the art on like the last issue in the story arc. And I'm like, best get to work. 48 hours on the keyboard. He'll message me and be like, sorry, the colours are taking too long, or there's a delay on the
okay.
Brilliant.
Slow down. Yeah.
So yeah, but you know, if we did kind of sell enough books and I could spend a whole month writing
of
on
course.
it, and like, you know, I'm sure I'd leave it to the last day, but I'd get more scripts done. So yeah, that's kind of just like, we have a pretty laid back approach to things, like, because you don't want to burn out on it either, do you? Like, ultimately, like, why would you want to turn comics into a shit job that you don't like?
Yeah. I mean, you're enjoying it, aren't you?
That's the argument, isn't it? Like, if when it becomes a job, do things then change? Obviously, for a lot of artists and writers, they're sort of very much aware that they're doing what they love for a living, and I don't think that ever escapes a lot of creators.
You see so many dudes get burnt out as well, though, don't you?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
With like physical ailments because they're over the drawing board all day, every day to make ends meet, and it must just be like, it must be quite crushing, like doing, you know, because they're working long days as well to get it in, isn't it? It's not even like a 9 to 5. These guys will be working 9 nines, getting up, hitting the drawing board, like having to wear braces on the wrists because they just did it for a page rate.
You see it all the time, don't you? On the videos that they do, the amount of artist videos, and you can see that they've got like a brace on their wrist.
Yeah,
it's absolutely knackered from all the.
You can see, well, it's what time in the morning they're tweeting. You know, they're still up on the drawing boards.
Yeah, and then they're going through all this, and they've still got to do GoFundMes for medicals because they're not got any coverage.
Yeah.
Companies, and it's like, you can see why people kind of get into comics because they love it, and then end up just coming out the other end, just hating it. And I'd rather just kind of just put stuff out as and when, and
keep the love.
Be like psyched about it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people in that camp, Tom. I talked to, because obviously, you know, my background is indie, and I talked to a lot of indie creators over the years who have had the opportunities, you know, to go into it full time. And for one reason or not, they've decided not to, because they just want to keep it as something that they love, that they don't want it to become a job, you know, and they're still doing it now and they're still loving it. So I think that's a totally valid take on it, you know, and I think everyone has to approach it in their own personal way, what's right for them, you know. But after saying that, are there other characters and ideas in your head other than Elephant Man that you would maybe one day like to see on the page?
Yeah, absolutely.
Dolphin Man.
I have honestly, like, I have books and books of just ideas I'll write down, and fortunately, people say to me, like, how do you stay focused on one thing? And ultimately it's because it works. Like, if I do something else, I feel like I'm starting from scratch. And sure, you know, Merrick's got a bit of a following, and I'm sure there's some of that will cross over, but ultimately it would be a huge gamble to do something else at this point.
But plus you'd be dividing the labour, wouldn't you, over two projects? So it makes sense to see
an extra plate.
Merrick.
Yeah.
Hey?
It's spinning an extra plate, isn't it? So like, this one's almost kind of looking after itself. And, you know, when I've got a few more scripts kind of, you know, in the kind of barrel ready to go, the new story arc I've actually just finished. So that's 4 new scripts finished.
Wow.
So I'll just be going through them with the editor, and then I can kind of like take the breaks off. I don't know if you know Johnny Cannon, who does the United.
Oh right, yeah.
Scottish superhero book. We've started kind of, well, a while ago. He was like, "Do you want to do something?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've got this idea for this kind of Northern English noir book." So he was like, "That sounds great." So I kind of told him kind of basic ideas, and he was like, "Yeah, this sounds right up my street." So I've been working on that just way too long. So the idea is to get back on that. So that's just kind of probably like a graphic novel.
It's grim up noir.
Yeah, like Council Estate noir. It's gonna be.
Oh, I like it.
So I think that'll be quite different to.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
But yeah,
definitely.
That'll be interesting. I just need to kind of figure out the last bits. Like the first quarter's finished, and then he's just finishing his new book, and I think he's got another little single issue to work on. So hopefully, the kind of time will just work on that. But yeah, I've got loads of ideas for stuff. I've also got another like Merrick spin-off. So in the spin-off we've already done, a lantern ends up in space. And so I've written a 4-issue series about this Victorian lantern's adventures through space. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah,
that sounds cool. Is it a certain colour, this lantern?
Pink.
Oh,
well, yeah, there will be that conversation to be had. But it's more of a H.G. Wells meets H.P. Lovecraft kind of Victorian sci-fi horror. But that'll be quite fun. But yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that. Lots of like kind of, because like Merrick's quite small scale. It's all mainly in London, like round.
Yeah, it's got its own little world, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So this is an excuse to do further afield stuff, but very much in the same vein, which I think will be quite fun. But yeah,
definitely. Well, thank you so much, Tom, for joining us tonight. It's been really fun talking to you and learning more about the background of the book.
Yeah, plans for the future, the backstory, and everything.
Yeah, congratulations on the success.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's going
23 days to go as well. So that's, like I said, that's an excellent start, given that it's still got 23 days to go.
Yeah, it really was an extra long one, but the idea was we were always going to do it because we come this far, we've done the material, so the idea was like an extended pre-order really, and it'll just keep ticking over, and we'll have the files ready, and it'll be real no fuss, like just we'll get the files to the printers, we'll get the books out, the books will go out, and then they'll turn up at your house.
Then they'll turn up at your house. Next time we talk to you, will be from behind boxes. Hello.
Honestly, my desk is just planks of wood with comic boxes either side of it. I'm not even joking.
Oh, I so sympathise, because being a publisher myself and a distributor at one time as well. That was the worst when I used to distribute stuff. Because everybody's comics were in my house, yeah, which was the
maybe I'll have to rent a lock up one day, but I'll hold out as long as I physically can.
Yeah. You'll be glad of the space, though. I tell you, if you do get a lock up, I got a lock up for all of my stuff, and it does.
No, you were locked up, Shane. Get it right.
I should have been for trying to do an indie distribution company. I should have been locked up for that one. but no, congratulations, Tom. On the success.
Yeah, great success.
And
great comic. And
I hope it continues for 50 issues or more.
Hopefully we'll be coming back as soon as this is out and delivered. I think we'll probably be back on Kickstarter for issue 12,
cool.
Which is pretty good because not many mainstream books are getting to that kind of number on the front these days.
No, they're not.
So I think a lot of people are looking for something different nowadays as well, Tom. I think if you're going to bring in new readers into comics, it's not just going to be superheroes. I mean, I keep on saying this week in, week out. I think we've got so much variety out there, particularly with Kickstarter almost having a second renaissance at the moment, with everyone, with the big names going there. I think it helps everybody out. You might be drawn by the Scott Snyders, but you might then stick around to see what else is there. So definitely. I think it's a great time to be on Kickstarter, considering it was only about a year ago they got rid of a load of staff because they thought the comics were going downhill.
I think
how wrong they were.
The pandemic's definitely given it a boost.
Yeah,
shops were closed. I think people did definitely kind of want their fix, and when the big guys weren't putting new issues out, I think there was definitely a spike when people were like, "Well, I still want to get some comics," so just sent straight to me from the creators. So yeah, like you say, I think it's genuinely never been a better time to be doing it, really.
Yeah.
No. I've definitely backed more myself over the last year, just to get something
to do.
Yeah, something to do. Oh, back some Kickstarter.
Something to do. I'll explain why I bought more trainers last year than the year before. Not that I've got anywhere to wear them. It's just something to do.
Something to do, isn't it? So before we go, where can people find you on the internet, Tom? What's your website? What's your Facebook?
If you search Merrick the Sensational Elephantman on Kickstarter, you'll find the new one. You can find us on Facebook.com/The Elephant Man Comic. You can go to our web store, www.merrickcomic.co.uk, where you can buy all the stuff we've already put out. A pre-order for the second volume will go up on that the minute the Kickstarter finishes as well. And you can download issue 1 for free. If you go to my Twitter account, which is @highbrowtrash, we've got a bit of a competition at the minute. We're going to give away a free volume 1 on Sunday. You'll see the tweet, just retweet it, and it's got the whole kind of creative teams tagged in there. So if you give myself, Luke, and the letter and Micah a follow and retweet that, you just get put into a draw, and we'll probably do a couple more things like that. I think the next one will probably go on Luke's Instagram, so if you go to @ArtofParker on Instagram, keep your eye on that. We'll probably do one where you tag a friend or something, and we'll give another couple of free books away.
And that'll be a copy of the first trade paperback, will it?
Yeah, the first one is about 110 pages, something like that.
Brilliant.
4 issues, like you say, they're oversized. There's a really nice pin-up gallery. It's got some cool stuff from Tien and Trevelyan's got a really good pin-up in there, and Art who just did First Knife with Image. We got some pretty cool stuff in there. But yeah, we'll give a couple of them away. Maybe do some digital giveaways or something towards the end, kind of just get the momentum going and get a final day spike is what you're looking for, isn't it?
That's it. Well, there's plenty of time yet, so I'm sure you can.
So it's all good. Definitely going to happen. If you're interested in the book, by all means, check it out. And it should be a no fuss fulfillment, really.
Excellent, brilliant. Well, thanks again, Tom. And
cheers. Nice meeting you, Tom.
You're always welcome back on if you want to promote anything, mate.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's been our pleasure. Thanks again, and have yourself a great evening.
Yeah, you too, guys.
Cheers.
All the best.
See you later.
Bye-bye. Run the...